So the plan to control the masses involves this one liquid, a movement that the World Economic Forum seems to support. Heck, it's not like they've said anything to try and improve our health, right? And if that was the case, they'd probably tell us to get off of eating McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, Arby's, Dairy Queen, all these different junk foods that we consume. But when it comes to alcohol, much like Budweiser, Jack Daniels, Grey Goose, Smirnoff, you know, whatever people prefer to drink, White Claws, it looks like the plans to have even more of the population hooked on it has worked with incredibly awful results. But if we take a look at some of these most recent and terribly shocking headlines, and we can see that it's only getting worse. Alcohol deaths reach alarming rates but get little attention in states like Colorado, which we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. And health-related deaths involving substance use, especially alcohol, is on the rise. And I wonder why. And alcohol, opioids, most common causes of substance use-related heart disease deaths. And the U.S. has seen steady rise in alcohol, or in role of alcohol and drugs in heart deaths. So a growing problem for sure. And again, it's only going to get worse. And according to Health Day, a new study found that heart disease deaths linked with alcohol or drug use have been steadily increasing in the United States. And deaths from heart disease in which substances used was cited as a contributor rose. Senior author Dr. Dmitry Abramov, a cardiologist and associate professor of medicine at Loma Linda University Health in Loma Linda, California, said in a news release, the study results were generally consistent with what we see in our clinic while caring for patients with cardiovascular disease, and said, we were surprised to see significant increases among individuals aged 25 to 39 compared to other age groups and among people in certain racial and ethnic groups, including white adults and American Indian or Alaska Native adults. For the study, researchers reviewed publicly available death certificates data provided by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. They analyzed more than 636,000 heart disease deaths associated with substance use that occurred between 1999 and 2019. Overall, that rate rose from 9.9 deaths per 100,000 people in 1999 to 21.4 deaths per 100,000 people in 2019. And I can only imagine what it is going to rise to in 2024. Alcohol was most often implicated, playing a role in 65% of the deaths from heart disease, according to what researchers found. And heavy drinking is associated with high blood pressure, heart failure, stroke, and obesity, according to Johns Hopkins Medicine. Other substances involved in fatal heart disease included opioids, cocaine, stimulants, sedatives, and cannabis. Meanwhile, deaths are growing more rapidly, and the largest increase in deaths occurred among 25 to 39-year-olds, and followed by adults aged 55 to 69, according to the results. And he pointed out also that while men had higher rates of deaths related to substance use, women showed larger increases during the study period. And in addition, increases in deaths were most prominent among women, American Indian or Alaskan individuals, and people living in rural areas. But in states like Colorado, the problem gets very little attention. But here's the deal, folks, and this is the way that I see it, okay? And we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna continue on with my notes and everything I got put together for you guys. But here's the way I see it, okay? Granted, this is a problem. this has been a problem, and this will forever be a problem. But at the same time, there are reasons why. And these reasons can include the enabling. However, the enabling isn't necessarily because of volume, availability, taxes, being inside of a grocery store or not, convenience store, gas station, whatever. Unfortunately, what's enabling this behavior is quite possibly some of the adverse effects that have really started to put pressure on so many people, not just in this country, not just in this state, not just in certain and specific areas, but this is a big problem. And the reason why it's such a big problem is because of the root cause, and quite possibly that root cause being so heavily tied and associated with the current state of the economy, with people's personal finances, with their job security, layoffs, termination, worry, stress, panic, anxiety, fear, increased debt, burden, everything that's really taking a toll on so many people, and has been and will continue to as we move forward. And I can tell you guys right now that this entire Bidenomics Build Back Better plan is not really aiding in any real meaningful solution to the problem. Okay, that's number one. But as we continue to see Americans and folks all around the world, really, for that matter, alcohol and substance abuse and other silent killers out there, there's no discrimination on, you know, location or race or socioeconomic status or age or anything, none whatsoever. But I do fear that, unfortunately, based on the current situation that many face right now, the unbelievable amounts of debt that people are piling on and tacking on and trying to manage. While I even read a story just the other day of someone who's in an unbelievable amount of credit card debt, but say to themselves that they feel rich. And you got to realize, you got to understand the psychological impact that not only alcohol, this deadly liquid that the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the CDC, the state lawmakers and legislation, politicians, the alcohol manufacturing, producing companies, marketing companies, mainstream, legacy media, businesses, secret entities, the Illuminati, you name it. They all have an impact. But when you are trying to battle the psychological feeling between the neurological and almost endorphin-like high that you receive from swiping a credit card, mixed with the near lucid emotional feeling of being inebriated by alcohol and consuming these spirits, it's a deadly combination, folks. And unfortunately, we're going to see more deaths. Huh. I've never walked over here before. And this is just an interesting sight to see down there. Of quite a collection of stuff. And I believe that's where some folks relocated after they cleared out this area over here. But either way, this is only going to be a much, much bigger problem. And this is why I urge people to communicate, to talk, whether it's you and you feel as though you may have a problem, or you feel as though you may need help, or if it's someone else that you know that you think may have a problem or may need help. Now is the time. Now is the time before it's too late, because now is the time that we can identify the problem and focus on solving the problem, focus on a solution. And this solution isn't only just financial and increasing your income, but it's also about your mental health and just living a much more fulfilling and long, happy life without taking on the added risk and possible fatal result that literally they want to see happen. Whether it's, I'm not going to go into the whole list, you guys know, but they do not care. They don't care. And I don't know who you are. I've never met you, probably. I can count on one hand how many people I've actually met that say, oh, I watch you on YouTube. But there is a part of me that does care. And it's just that some folks need to hear this news. They need to hear this information. They need to connect with this story. They need to know that there is help out there. They need to know that they're not alone. They need to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. They need to know that they're not the only ones. And if you only listen to the mainstream, if you only listen to Legacy, then they are only going to tell you everything you need to know to destroy you. That's all they're going to do. Rarely will you find an instance where they actually provide you with anything that's going to be helpful and beneficial in solving the problem. Because interestingly enough, I came across a video yesterday of a guy who literally lost everything. And I wanted to share this with you, but I was worried and I was concerned. And unfortunately, I've gotten this gun-shy feeling of bringing these stories because of the backlash that I receive of, oh my God, this is clickbait. Oh my God, you didn't lose everything. Kevin, I thought you didn't have a job. Kevin, I thought your van was repossessed. Kevin, I thought you got a divorce. And you know, it's like, well, how do I bring this story to people's attention and effectively get reach so that people can hear the story and possibly hear the solution, or at least steps towards solutions and remedies. But I get gun shy because people hate on me so much. But perhaps maybe these are part of this is part of the crowd, the shadow fallen angels that essentially want to see the rest of the world suffer and collapse and fall and fail. But this guy shared on his video how he lost everything. He lost his family, he lost his wife, he lost his son, he lost his job, he worked for Toyota, he lost his home. I think all he had left was his truck and his YouTube channel. And interestingly enough, he says, I put my YouTube channel and content creation over my family. And I realized that that was a problem. So I needed to pull back. And he says, and with that, he says, I was never going to really make this a career, because he said, look at my channel, I don't get very many views, so this is really just a hobby. And he goes, so you know, he was talking to other men in regard to men's health, and which is very, very, very important. But not just men's health, everybody's health, especially in regard to mental health. But he said something that really resonated with me on a video that, you know, normally on his channel would get 1,000 views based on however many, about 17,000 subscribers he had at the time. And I would be willing to bet that if you look at that video today, he probably has over 500,000 views on the video after starting the video out with, and this is something that nobody wants to see. This isn't trending. This is me complaining about my life and how terrible it is and how I've lost everything, and nobody wants to see it. Well, spoiler alert, that is exactly what everybody wants to see. They want to see the destruction, the problem, the collapse, the crisis, the panic, the fallout, the life-ending, extinction level event that you can share with them. And you know who knows that too? Mainstream media, legacy news, and that's all they want to show you. So that's why I feel it's very important and my responsibility partly to bring you guys this information, but unfortunately it may not necessarily resonate or connect with people in the way that I hope that it would, but I'm not going to stop trying. I'm not going to give up, and neither should you. But in states like Colorado, the problem gets very little attention. And you can take a look at this map here on your screen and see that the states with the most alcohol-induced deaths per 100,000 people. And Axios said, while a spike in drug overdoses has captured most of the attention in Colorado, another killer is quietly striking. Driving the news, alcohol-induced deaths more than doubled from 2009 to 2021, according to Kaiser Family Foundation data. And Colorado's rate is the 6th highest in the nation at 26.5 deaths per 100,000 people. They present the question of, well, why does this matter? And they say that unlike the reaction to fentanyl-fueled overdoses, which led policymakers to take major steps, state leaders largely have overlooked measures to help reduce alcohol use. But I wonder why that is the case. Now, you guys, please feel free, engage in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions as to why they don't really care about the deaths caused by alcohol use and the abuse of alcohol use. I got my own thoughts and opinions, but I'll wait and see what you guys say, and then maybe we could do a follow-up video and just tie it all together. And they also mentioned that by the numbers, residents consume about 645 drinks per year, well above the national average of 536. And the most popular beverage is spirits, or are spirits. So the paper found that Colorado is 9th in the nation for binge drinking rates, and essentially experts say what's happening is that the major contributing factors include a social acceptance of drinking, ineffective warnings about the risks, limited spending on prevention programs, and hurdles when attempting to obtain treatment. And they include low taxes also playing a role, exposing how the excise tax on beer and wine is the 3rd lowest in the nation, while liquor taxes rank 4th lowest in the nation. And how alcohol has also become more widely available, and the recent addition of beer and wine sales in groceries and convenience stores only exacerbates the problem. And they also mention how liquor licenses counts have also increased as well. And from what I read, it appears as though the data and research points to other states with higher taxes and fewer locations are shown to lower consumption. And both, along with limiting sales hours and greater liability for retailers, were recommendations from a 2018 task force that looked at how to curtail excessive drinking. But in Colorado, none of this has been implemented. And what they're saying is Governor Jared Polis lists health and safety as a top priority, but considers drinking a personal responsibility. And Democratic State Representative Mark Snyder, whose Finance Committee oversees alcohol regulation, acknowledged to the Post that we kind of forget about alcohol in terms of its risks. On the other side, the alcohol industry rejects the notion that higher taxes will curtail alcohol abuse, instead putting the pressure and responsibility on the healthcare industry for better screening and treatment. But the bottom line, according to Axios, is that really any level of alcohol use is not great for your health, and that is a direct quote from University of Colorado Ann Schultz Medical Campus Clinic psychologist Joseph Scat, and what he told the newspaper.